Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. We all know that it is very easy for all of us to judge someone by their character, by how they speak, by how they behave, by how they deal with problems. It is very easy to make these assumptions. But most of the times, these judgments that we make are not always the correct, right? Sometimes we think about a person as, in a way, this person is good, either good or bad. But later we realize that they are not as good as they are. They are not they are not as bad as they look, right? So the judgments that we make are not always correct. But to deal with people, to be with people, to make relationship with people, we need to understand people. Somehow we need to have a good idea about who the person is, but it takes a very long time to understand. So today from this video, I'm going to share some valuable facts from the Buddha that was preached by the Buddha about how to make judgments, how to predict a person, how to understand the character of a person. The Buddha explained this in a sutra in Anguttara Nikaya. The Buddha says, by living together with a person, his virtue can be known, and this too only after a long time, not casually. By close attention, not without attention. By one who is wise, not by one who is stupid. Now what Buddha means by this is that if you need to understand someone's virtue, someone's life moralities, someone's ethical behaviors, you need to take a good time to understand it. You can't just look at a person and judge by their actions and how they behave, right? The Buddha says this to be known, the virtue can only be known, this too only after a long time, not casually. So what Buddha invites all of us to do is to take a good time. You deal with the person by being with that person, by living together with that person. You will gain some idea about their virtue, right? How trustful they are, how they behave. But this too take a long time. So what Buddha tells from this is to not to be panicked, to understand or to make judgments about a person. And then the Buddha says, pay close attention, not without attention, right? If you didn't pay attention to their virtues, you may not be able to understand that person. And also the Buddha says, a person can be known, their virtues can be known only by who is wise, not by one who is stupid, right? So you need to be very wise when you understand about someone's character. And also the Buddha says, by having dealings with a person, his integrity can be known. And this too only after a long time, not casually, by close attention, not without attention, by one who is wise, not by one who is stupid. So the Buddha says their integrity, right, their character, how faithful they are, or how loyal they are, right, how trustful they are. Only you can understand about this after a very long time. And then the Buddha says about a special thing. The Buddha says, in misfortune, a person's fortitude, a person's patience can be known. And this too only after a long time, right? How to judge someone's patience? When they experience misfortune, when they are going through adversities, when they are going through difficult times in their life, only we can understand how patient they are, how much they have practiced this patience, how much courage and how much grit that they have in their life, right? But this also to what? You need to take a good time. It's not easy for all of us to understand about a person with a short period of time, right? You may think, okay, I understood the person, but it is not, right? Human minds are so much complicated and so much complex when it comes to understanding. right? It's not easy to understand. That is why the Buddha said the difference between animals, like the other animals and humans, is that the other animals, they express their mistakes, they express their weaknesses. But humans, it is very difficult. The Buddha himself says that it is very difficult to deal with humans. It is very difficult to understand a human. Why? Because a human will always cover their weaknesses. They hide their weaknesses. So it is not easy to understand. So what Buddha means by all this sutra is that you can't judge a person by just casually. You have to take a good time. You have to be patient. You have to have a good mind of understanding to take a good idea about that person is, right? And also then the Buddha says how to judge a person's wisdom, how wise they are. The Buddha says by conversation, a person's wisdom can be known. And this too only after a long time, not casually. And by close attention, not without attention. By one who is wise and not by one who is stupid, right? So to understand someone's wisdom, how to understand how wise they are, you have to have a good conversation, deep conversations about life. And also, you have to take a good time to understand their wisdom, okay? Because sometimes the people who appear to be wise, people who appear to be good are not always as good as they look, right? So I hope you got some idea about how to judge and how to understand a person's character. So I would like to end this video with a wonderful quote by Mrs. Dow Santamata. In her quote, she says, "It is easy to judge. It is more difficult to understand. Understanding requires compassion, patience, and a willingness to believe that good hearts sometimes choose poor methods. Through judging, we separate. Through understanding, we grow." So, I would like to invite all of you to not to be too quick to judge someone and do not judge a book by its cover. So, take a good time to understand about people. Take care. Namo Buddhaya. The Buddha once said, "He who sits alone, lies down alone, walks alone, in diligent practice, and alone tames himself, should find delight in living in the forest." Living alone, being alone, can be scary for many people these days. Oftenly, our society portrays a successful life, a happier life, a good life, as a life where it is surrounded by people, surrounded by things. But there's a reason why almost all the spiritual practices, almost all the spiritual pathways praise and promote this living alone, life in the place of a solitude practice, a solitude life. And that is why almost all the religious leaders had to solitude themselves from these hassles and bustles of this society and go to these quiet places and find the liberation and find what they were looking for. Same went with the Supreme Buddha. Before he became the Buddha, he was a prince. He was living in a palace. He was indulging himself with this sensual pleasure. And then he understood, indulging in this sensual pleasure doesn't help me to find what I'm looking for. So what he did was he left the palace and he went from one forest to another, meditating, finding this peace, this ultimate peace, right? So living alone can be a blessing. It is a blessing when it is converted to a blessing, right? But living alone can be a curse as well for many people. That is why people most of the time they are scary. They're afraid of living alone, right? Most of the time people come to me and say, I'm lonely. I'm living alone. I'm living by myself. But I feel so much lonely, so much negative thoughts coming into my mind. What should I do? That is what happens when you turn this loneliness into a curse. Trust me, it all depends on how you think and how you use this time. I will tell you a story. Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha, left the palace and he went to a forest. Although he went to a forest, there were 5 monks who was waiting for him to come to the forest. There were 5 monks who were helping Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha, with the meditation before his awakening. And then these 5 monks had this idea that only way to find the liberation is by giving this tortures and doing these hard meditations and harsh meditations and extreme meditations. So we call it Atta Kilamatthana Yoga, which we can translate into English as self-mortification, right? Now, Prince Siddhartha left one extreme when he left the palace. That extreme is, the Buddha described this as the extreme of sensual pleasures, indulging in the sensual pleasures. That was one extreme. And then Prince Siddhartha came to the other extreme, where he practiced this self-mortification, giving these extreme and harsh meditations to the body. And then those 5 monks, they believed that this is the only way for the liberation. So Prince Siddhartha was practicing these meditations for 6 years. And finally he understood this extreme, being in this extreme, doesn't help me either. So then he found the middle path, the middle way, and that is to live a spiritual life by balancing his material and spiritual life both, right? And that is why after that decision, he decided to take some food to his body. After a long time he had taken some food to his body, he grabbed his alms bowl and went on begging alms and find some food and had it. Now all those 5 monks had a lot of expectations on Prince Siddhartha. And then they saw this incident. And then they became disappointed. They said, "Oh, what a disappointment. We believed him. We had a lot of expectations on him. But look what now happened. He's taking food. Maybe soon he will go back to his palace and he will live a normal life again. So the best decision is to leave him." So what happened? All these 5 monks left Prince Siddhartha. And after this alms round, he came back to the forest and he saw everyone had left. No one was there. Prince Siddhartha was alone. Then he found this perfect environment, perfect place to be focused more into himself. That was because he was all alone, right? He got the opportunity to be by himself, right? Focus more into himself. And one day he sat under the Bodhi tree and he became awakened. He became enlightened, right? So this solitude, when it is turned to, when it is used in the correct way, it can be a blessing for you, right? And the same solitude can be turned into a curse as well, right? Most of the people, they complain me about the loneliness. I always say to them, when you're lonely, your thought process generates a certain energy within you, right? And that can be negative. Now, let's say you are in this negative energy environment and a negative energy thought process. You all know in science we learn about, according to science, it says that energy cannot be produced or destroyed. Now you have your energy within you, but it is negative, right? Now you can't destroy this negative energy, right? What we are trying in this whole life is to destroy this negative energy. Well, we can't do that. The only thing that we can do is to convert this negative energy, drive this negative energy to something positive, right? So how can we drive this loneliness, this energy to something positive? One of the biggest reasons why people feel lonely is because they lack an aim, a goal to their life. If they have a goal and aim that they should work on, if they have a system that they should work on, then they don't feel that much lonely because they have something to do. They have something to engage with it. right? So this can go either, people can have either material goals or spiritual goals, but everyone must have these spiritual goals within themselves, no matter what life they are coming from, right? Because finally, there will be a time in all of our lives that we come to this lonely place. One day we have to be by ourselves with no one else around us, right? At that time, if we don't have any quality, any spiritual quality that we have practiced within us, we'll start feeling lonely again and again, and it will start to build up this negative energy within us. Okay, and sometimes we can be too late for that to make it correct. So the best thing is to learn how to convert this negative energy to something positive, right? To do that, you have to have a goal and an aim for yourself, to yourself. Always ask from yourself, what should I do in my life? Who should I become in my life? What should I build up? What qualities should I work on in my life? If you found, we will always find some qualities that we should work on, right? Some mistakes that we have, some weaknesses within us. If we can work on those weaknesses and make it correct, that time will help you to be more successful, more productive, right? More happy and a more peaceful person. But to do that, what do you need? You need time, right? You need time to be focused on yourself. And what gives you the best time to be focused on yourself is the time when you are all alone, right? And that is why I always say for people, have a time during the day only for yourself, a separate time. Probably people call it me time. Okay, that's a good thing. Having a me time for yourself during the day is essential. Okay, so I would say, as a practical thing, apply it to your life. That is to have a separate, at least 15 minutes. It's okay, no matter how much you spend the time, but if it is for yourself, that is helpful, right? At least spend a 15 minutes of time, right? Sitting down, being by yourself, all alone, right? Not with your mobile phones, not with your Netflix account, not with your movies or anything. Just be by yourself, right? And then learn how to be with your own thoughts, right? Then only we can be more focused to ourselves, right? So I hope you got some idea about how to convert this loneliness into the solitude. So apply this little practice to your life and enjoy the solitude in your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. Now, we all know when it comes to Buddhism and Buddhist practice, there are a lot of meditations involved, right? And sometimes some people can think, oh, Buddhism is only about meditation, right? And there has been a huge debate about Buddhism, that whether to learn Buddhism or to practice Buddhism first, right? So from this video, we're going to talk about whether we should learn Buddhism or to meditate or to do both, or what to do when it comes to Buddhist practice, right? Now, the reason why I made this video is because I found a wonderful sutra that discusses about this matter, right? In this sutra, the main character that appears in the sutra is an enlightened monk called Mahachunda. So Venerable Chunda gives this idea about whether to practice or to meditate. But before that, he explains this debate that had happened within the monks community, within these two groups of monks. So it is very clear, according to this sutra, that there has been monks in the past who only meditate, and also there were another group of monks who only learn Buddhism, like who only become intellectually learned in Buddhism, right? So there have been this huge debate between these two groups of monks, that who are the superior ones. Like the ones who are meditating has been saying that We are the superior one because we practically apply all the Buddha's teachings and we meditate and we experience it. And the other group of monks was saying, like, you don't have any kind of knowledge and intellect about Buddhism, so you don't know what the Buddha is talking about. So there has been this huge debate. And then in the sutra, Venerable Mahachunda clearly explains that neither one of them, right? Neither of these meditating monks nor these keen on Dhamma will be pleased. And they will not be practicing for the welfare and happiness of multitude, for the good of the multitude, for the welfare and the happiness of the devas and humans. So what Venerable Mahachunda explains by this is that neither of them are correct, right? And this is how we should understand about this. Then Venerable Mahachunda says that, therefore, friends, you should train yourself thus, though we ourselves are Dhamma experts, we will praise also those monks who are meditators. And why? Such outstanding persons are rare in this world who have personal experience of deathless element, which is Nibbana. And the other monks too should train themselves thus, though we ourselves are meditators, we will praise also those monks who are Dhamma experts. And why? Such outstanding persons are rare in this world who can, by their wisdom, clearly understand a difficult subject. So understand, when it comes to Buddhist practice, yes, we must meditate, but we also need to have a good understanding about Buddhism. To do that, we must learn. So one of the sources that we can find to learn Buddhism is by reading the Buddha's teachings, reading the direct Buddha's teachings, reading the sutras. So you can read them online. You can find some books that you can read as well. And one of the best ways to learn the Buddha's teachings, direct Buddha's teachings, is to learn it by reading. And then after that, after learning, we have to look how to apply these teachings into practical life, right? And that is where the meditation comes in. But sometimes there are these people who think that we should only learn, or sometimes there are people who says that we should only meditate, right? So when it comes to Buddhist practice, I have seen that there are three groups of people in this world. One, those who learn only. Two, those who meditate only. And three is that ones who learn and meditate and do both, right? So what are the disadvantages of learning only Buddhism? One of the biggest disadvantages of learning Buddhism only, like only learning Buddhism without practicing, is that they become detached from the practice, right? If they are focusing only about learning, they detach from the practice. And then sometimes they go on thinking about these impractical ways of doing it. And then the second is that the more people learn only, they will overanalyze stuff, right? When it comes to Buddhist teachings, there are some deeper and that needs a wiser understanding about these phenomena, right? And the ideas that Buddha is talking about. But when they overanalyze it, right? There should be some sort of analyze, yes, there should be wisdom, but over-analyzing will end up in unrealistic, and they will unrealism, and they will end up in like this pointless debates, right? That should not be done when it comes to Buddhist practice. And the third one, this is a big disadvantage for someone who is practicing Buddhism. If you only focused on only learning without practicing, what happens to most of the people that I have seen is that the people end up in arrogance, right? When they have only this intelligence, or when they have this only knowledge, people will end up become arrogant about their knowledge, right? They think that, okay, I know more, so that other people are lower than me, right? They are no match for my knowledge and intelligence when it comes to Buddhism. So these are the disadvantages of only learning Buddhism. And also, there are some disadvantages with only meditating, right? Because when you don't have any kind of context or idea about practice, right, any kind of knowledge about practice, then you will be misguided most of the time. So learning is important when it comes to meditation. So learning and meditation should be both practice in balance, right? So one of the best ways to do this is to learn and also ask questions, right? Meet people, meet some communities who practice the Buddha's teachings, and meet monks, right? And then ask questions: how to practice this? How can I understand this? And learning and meditating, when it goes with the balance, you can practice the Buddha's teachings without any problem. So I hope you got some idea about practicing Buddhism, and I wish you a healthy and a happy life. And don't forget to prioritize your peace. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Another year is coming to an end, and another new year is going to start. Now you may be thinking about, oh, this monk is going to talk about New Year resolutions, or how to start the new year in a more positive and a more correctly, right? None of them. I'm not going to talk about all those things. In fact, you all know all of your resolutions, what you're going to do in this new year. But today, I'm here to share with you a wonderful spiritual practice that you need to start doing in this new year. And also, not only during the new year, not only on January 1st, but also this should be made a practice that you should do every single day. This should be made a daily practice. So what is this spiritual practice that I'm going to share with you today? I call it the silent help. What is it? The silent help. Now, what is the silent help? Silent help is a help that you give to a person without them asking you to do a help, right? So the reason why I'm going to share this about this spiritual practice is because the other day I was reading the biography of the chief disciple of the Supreme Buddha. The chief disciple of the Supreme Buddha's name was Arahant Sariputra. Arahant Sariputra's character was so much inspirational and so much wonderful that Buddha himself advised the monks that you should live like Sariputra. You should make your role model in your life the Sariputra. So his character is so much inspirational and so much wonderful. And there is this one story that I was so much, it felt into my heart. I felt that into my heart, that it says that one morning that Arahant Sariputra came out of the room, getting ready to go on the alms round. And then he saw the junior monks. They are cleaning the monastery. They are cleaning the compounds. They are cleaning the halls, and they are cleaning the rooms. What Arahant Sariputra did was, he kept his alms bowl aside and grabbed a broom and started cleaning with them, joined them and started cleaning with them. And then after that, after a little while, he kept his broom aside and took his alms bowl again and went on alms round. Now I was wondering that none of the junior monks, none of those monks asked to do that help for them, right? None of them. In fact, no one will ask from a great person like Arahant Sariputra to do such a help, right? Such a help. But Arahant Sariputra understood that what these junior monks are doing. So he thought to offer a little help for them. And that little help meant so much. Maybe it has been meant so much for those junior monks, because he is the greatest role model for all of the monks community, but he joined with these junior monks to clean. In the same way, that was a silent help, right? That was a silent help. That meant so much for the person who is receiving that help. So this is the silent help that we all need to practice, right? We need to help someone during the day without waiting them to ask to do the help for them, right? For an example, let's say You're at home and you're coming out of your room, and you see one member of your family is cleaning the house. What you can do? Maybe you can grab a glass of water and give it to that person. Maybe you can clean some places. Maybe you can help them with cleaning some mats and rugs on the floor, right? That is a little help that you give to that person, but they didn't ask you to do that. Now, the reason why we should practice this silent help is because a help that was given without the person asking to do that help is so much powerful than a help that was asked to do, right? Because behind that help, behind that action, there are a lot of wonderful qualities like understanding. There is a quality of the love, compassion, right? Generosity, right? Kindness. These qualities are behind that action, right? When you do such things, it will be a great help to build up great qualities like kindness and compassion within you, right? So in this new year, I need all of you to have a resolution into your mind that also, while pursuing this material happiness in this world, we also need to have some resolutions and some goals to pursue our spiritual goals as well. So I invite all of you to do a silent help to a person every single day, right? Whenever possible, find a way to do a help to a person without them asking you to do that. And also, after doing this help, I need you to do one thing. To deliberately be happy of the thing, of the help that you did, of the action that you did, right? This is something that we oftenly don't do. What is it? Deliberately being happy of what we do, right? Because happiness is not something that comes automatically out of nowhere. It doesn't appear. We have to make it happen. You have to think it in that way. So in the same way, we have to help someone without them. We have to give a silent help, and also we have to deliberately be happy of what we did. This is one spiritual practice. This is a simple spiritual practice that you can add to your life in this new year. Okay? So you may be thinking, that is a little thing. No, it is not, right? And also you may be thinking, does that include into spirituality? Well, some people say, okay, spirituality is all about meditating. Now, spirituality is not only about meditating. Spirituality is also about giving. Spirituality is also about dedicating your life, your time, your energy towards the benefit of other people. So in this new year, let's start practicing this wonderful yet simple spiritual practice and make this year a happier and a more peaceful one. So I wish you, by the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, may all of you be healthy, may all of you be happy, may all of your dreams come true, and may all of you be able to realize the Four Noble Truths in this Gautam Buddha's dispensation. Namo Buddhaya. Now Buddhaya, welcome back to another video. From today's video, we're going to discuss about the approach of non-violence in Buddhism. Now, how Buddha approaches the non-violence is in a most skillful way. Now, we all know that almost all the religion speaks about non-violence. And how Buddha approaches the non-violence is in a more different way. The Buddha says that to see from the perspective of the other person. Put yourself to the perspective of the other person and think that if I were to go through such an experience, if I were to go through such an experience in my life, how would I feel? By thinking about this, you should let go of the anger, let go of the rudeness, let go of the violence. That is the Buddha's explanation of practicing the non-violence. The Buddha says, Attanang upamang katva nahaneyana ghate. First of all, put yourself into the perspective of the other person and think, if I were to say like this, if I went through this kind of experience, if I'm going to be rude to someone, if I'm going to be violent to someone, but if I became the victim, how would I feel? And when you think about that, when you think about from that perspective, you know that you don't like this violence. You don't like someone become violent to you or rude to you or mean to you. And when you understand this, the Buddha says that by understanding that that is the pain that every other person will go through in their life, if I do the same thing to them, then I don't want to do that. That is how we let go of the anger. The Buddha says that anger doesn't resolve anything. There is not a single problem that is solved through anger. People all over the world try to solve problem through revenge. Look at the world. Look at the wars that are currently going on in this world. What happens? We're trying to take revenge on each one of us, on each other. And finally, no one solves the problem, but only the innocent lives will be destroyed. There's a beautiful saying that I read in the book of Art of War. It says that the destroyed buildings can be built up again, right? The friends who became enemies will become friends again. And the destroyed cities can build up again. But you cannot bring back a dead person back to life. So understand that war is not good for any kind of nation, any kind of country, any kind of people. So that we have to understand that violence doesn't solve anything in this world. It creates only the loops of anger. Now, by loops of anger, what I mean is that, let's say one party, let's say one country is attacking another country. Okay, you see this in Iran and Israel, right? You see this in Ukraine and Russia in this world. Let's say one country is attacking another country, right? Let's say you see this in almost all the wars, right? One country is attacking another country. What happens? They come and kill these people, okay? And there are people who are very close to them. And the people who got killed, there are people, the other people who are very close to them. What happens to them? They become angry. They build up the hate inside them. They swear to take revenge on the other party. So what do? They go and kill the other people. And then what happens? There are close relatives and close people to them as well. And they swear to take revenge again. And they come back and they kill again. So this will never end. So that is why anger creates nothing but the destruction, the destroying of this world, right? But only through letting go, only through forgiving that we can solve a problem, okay? That is why we have to be brave enough to let go and forgive, even though it is difficult. I know to say to let go is easy. I know that to say that forgive is easy. But to do, it is difficult. It is hard. It is hard for me. It is hard for you. It is hard for everyone. That is the truth. But even though it is difficult, it is hard, it is painful, we have to do that if we need to stop the problem continuing, right? That is why the Buddha said that put yourself in the perspective of the other person and think that if I were to go through such a situation, how would I feel? How much pain that I will go through? How much I will suffer? And then the Buddha says, let go of that anger. Let go of the hatred. On the day you let go of the hatred, on the day that you let go of that anger, it will never create a loop of anger, which will destroy the future generations. You're the one, if you take the choice to stop it, you are the one is not letting your future generations to be destroyed. So even though I know forgiving, letting go is not easy, even though it is difficult, it is hard, it is painful, we have to do it. And that is how we stop the anger. And that is the approach in Buddhism about the non-violence. So keep this little reminder in your mind and be happy. Namo Buddhaya. One day, a wild bull was walking down a street and he saw this beautiful paddy field. And the bull was thinking, wow, what a beautiful paddy field. I need to eat some paddy. So what he did was, he jumped to the paddy field and started eating paddy. But there was this farmer who was so mindful watching the paddy field, and he saw the bull was eating paddy. So what the farmer did, he ran across the paddy field and grabbed the bull from its horns and wrapped the muzzle around the horns and gave a huge blow to the bull. What happened to the bull? The bull was confused. So the bull ran away. But the nature of the bull is that he forgets everything very quickly. And the next day, what happened? The bull was walking down the same street and saw the paddy field, jumped to the paddy field and started eating paddy again. But there was this mindful farmer who was watching the paddy field. He gave a sound beating on that day as well. So this happened for a little while. But there came one day that the bull was thinking, okay, today I don't want to jump into the paddy field. Why? Because I always get beaten up by this guy. So on that day, the bull didn't jump to the paddy field. On that day, the bull was very disciplined when he was near the paddy field. He went and he passed the paddy field without jumping towards it. So the Buddha used this wonderful story and metaphor to give us a beautiful message. The Buddha says, this is the nature of our mind. It's like a wild bull. Forgets everything, runs towards these evil thoughts, and it has no discipline. So the Buddha says how we should discipline like that mindful farmer. We have to be mindful and watch our thoughts and take control over it. How to take control over our thoughts? So Buddha give us a beautiful way to do that. The Buddha says, whenever your mind runs towards these evil thoughts, what you have to think? You have to think the downside of all these evil thoughts. For an example, if you have hatred in your mind, you have to think, this is not good for myself. This is not good for my physical health. This is not good for my mental health. And this is not good for me as well as others. My hate is not good for me and as well as others. In that way, by considering the downside and the danger of your thoughts, you can stay away from evil thoughts, and also you can discipline your thoughts. But to do every kind of these things, any of these things, we have to have one beautiful quality, and that is the mindfulness. So the Buddha says, watch your mind like a farmer who's watching the paddy field, right? So without mindfulness, we cannot do any kind of these things. We cannot discipline our mind. We cannot take our mind from unwholesomeness to wholesomeness. So we need to have this beautiful quality of mindfulness. And also we need to consider the danger of our thoughts, because one thought can create a beautiful world, and just one thought can destroy this whole world. That is the power of our mind. So understand that the nature of all of our minds are like a wild bull. So many people complain when they start meditating, they say, oh, my mind is not disciplined. It's always busy. It's running here and there. I'm very scattered brained. Well, at the beginning, we all are like that. When we start meditation, our minds start to run here and there. Only when we start meditating, we realize that how busy our minds are, how scattered our minds are. So what we have to do, whenever our mind gets distracted or disturbed or running into these kind of evil thoughts, we have to kindly bring it back to the wholesomeness. You may have to do this again and again. You may have to do it for years, but there will be a day, definitely, there will be a day that your mind becomes disciplined, but only if you keep doing this, right? It's all about the little steps that you take to discipline your mind every single day. And every practice adds up to your life. That is the wonder of this beautiful Buddhist path. Every practice that Buddha teaches us adds up and it always helps to us. So, I know, and we all know that it is not easy to discipline our mind. But even though it is difficult, it is not easy, it is painful, we have to do it again and again, keep doing it until that beautiful day comes, that we gain a beautiful, disciplined mind. So keep practicing disciplining our mind and be happy. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome and welcome back to another video. From today's video, we're going to discuss about one of the major problems that we go through in our mind when it comes to the stress and anxiety. And that is the what if scenarios, the catastrophizing of mind. Now, this state of mind can affect for many people, and they suffer a lot when these kind of thought patterns hit their mind, right? So what if scenarios are like, you imagine all the worst case scenarios in your mind. Like, what if that happened to me? What if everything went wrong? What if they're cheating me? What if the people all around are up to no good? So we expect and we create these scenarios in our mind and we suffer in it. Okay. And our brain is pretty good at creating these scenarios in our mind, right? So that is why we need to learn how to deal with these kind of thoughts when they come into our mind. Not every time we get these kind of thoughts, but when there are certain times that we get these kind of mental states, and it's very painful, and people suffer a lot in these kind of thought patterns. And this is where the Buddhist practice of mindfulness comes in handy, right? In Buddhist practice, we call mindfulness as sati. Sati is the bringing your mind to this present state and understanding the reality as it is, right? So when you understand the true nature of reality, when you understand that everything, every experience, every mental state has one intrinsic nature, and that is changing. Every mental state, every experience is subjected to changing, right? But before doing that, there are certain things that we need to understand and we need to think and practice to deal with these kind of catastrophizing thoughts, right? These what if scenarios. The first practice, we need mindfulness to understand this, because we need to catch this thought, right? Without you catching this thought and understanding and realizing this thought, you cannot do anything, right? You cannot deal with anything that you don't understand about. So the first step is to know that you're in the mental state of catastrophizing, right? What if scenarios. So the first step is to understand and challenge your thought, right? How to challenge your thoughts. Now, in this practice, we need mindfulness. We need to catch this thought, right? And understand as it is. And then ask the question from yourself that, is this the reality, or is this just another distortion of my mind about the reality of the life, right? Because the mind and our brain can distort the reality in many ways. It can create many scenarios, but in reality, the problem is very, very little. Right? Sometimes there is no problem. I've seen this a lot of times in mind, that when we don't have much things to worry about, right? When the life goes smoothly, we worry about even about the little things in life. Okay? So that is why first we need to understand, is this reality, or is this another distortion of my mind about the reality, right? When you understand this, when you come to this present moment and understand what reality is, then you find that there are very few things that we need to worry about, and many things, right? 99% of what we go through is just another distortion of our mind, right? So challenging your thought is very important when you deal with these kinds of mental states. And once you understand the reality, now then you can ask from yourself that what can I do about it? Is there anything that is under my control that I can take some actions to change this state, right? And then you understand that there are certain things in life that are under your control and that are not under your control, that are out of your control. So then you have to realize that the things that are under your control is totally worth worrying and totally worth taking actions. And the things that are not under your control, we don't have anything to do about it. And also we can't change that state. So what we can do is we can accept it, right? Once you realize the reality, one thing that you can do is to understand what is in your control and what is not in your control. And that is the next thing that you have to do. And once you understand the present state of mind, now you can add a little mindful practice to your life, right? Such as breathing meditation, right? A mindful in-breath and out-breath will help you to relieve your stress. Okay, this is something the Buddha introduced us to do, and Buddha emphasizes to do, to stop the chattering of your mind, to stop this restlessness of your mind. Because once you're in these kind of mental states, one thing that happens to your mind is you become restless. So a mindful breathing practice will help you to relieve the anxiety and relieve the stress from your mind and become more peaceful and calm. And there's another practice that you can do, and this is not directly mentioned in Buddhism, but you can set a time to worry about things, right? So what you have to do when the worryings and when these regrets and these kind of thought patterns come into your mind, say to yourself, okay, wait, there is a time in my day to worry about these things. So wait until that. I will wait until that. And when that time comes, I will do my worrying. I will do my regretting. So what you do, you set an alarm to yourself that I will worry in the future. So then set a maybe time period during the day that you sit down and think, okay, what is there in my mind and in my life to worry about, right? And to check the reality. And then you spend a good time. You don't spend that time worrying and regretting. You spend that time analyzing and not overthinking, but analyzing and realizing about the reality of the life and the present state of life, so that you find there are very few things to worry about in life. And all the other things that our mind has created inside our mind are just nothing but distortions of reality. So these are the few practices that you can add to your life. Whenever you get these kind of thought patterns, practicing these tips will help you to ease up your mental state. So practice this and make your mind peaceful and calm. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. It is quite easy to be patient and to be calm when the life goes smoothly. But where our real patience comes into test is in the middle of adversity. I know it is very difficult to practice patience for all of us. It is easier to say to be patient. It is easier to advise to be patient, but it is easy to talk about patience, but to practice this quality, it is really, really challenges for every one of us. So although it is difficult, although it is challenging, we have to practice this amazing quality that brings the happiness and the calmness and peace to our life. So let's talk about how to practice patience according to Buddha's teachings. So in Buddhism, patience is considered as the greatest virtue. In Dhammapada, verse number 184, the Buddha says, patience is the highest virtue. The Buddhas say that Nibbana is supreme. And the one who harms others is not a monk. And one who destroys others is not a monk. So in Buddhism, a bigger space and a bigger value is given to the patience, and to practice the patience, as the practice of patience as an inner quality, not just to talk about it, not just to read about it or to learn about it, but the real practice. So in Buddhism, the greatest quality in Buddhism, the greatest virtue is considered as the patience also. So what exactly is patience? The Buddha describes this as follows. And what's the patience practice? It is when a bhikkhu endures cold, heat, hunger, and thirst. They endure the touch of flies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and reptiles. They endure rude and unwelcome criticism, and they put up with physical pain, sharp, severe, acute, and unpleasant, disagreeable, and life-threatening. This is called the patience practice. In another sutta, the Buddha explains about the patience as follows. What is the patient practice? It is when someone abuses, annoys, or argues with you, and you don't abuse, annoy, or argue back at them. This is called the patience practice. So being able to put up with ups and downs and challenging situations and disagreeable experiences in life is called patience. But to be honest, it is really difficult to be patient. Yes, it is difficult. It is going to be difficult, and it will be always difficult. It will never be easy, because that's the nature of all good practices in life. The Buddha said, what brings the happiness to your life? To practice such qualities is the most difficult thing that you have to do in your life. But although it is difficult, we all have to practice this amazing quality of being patient. Now, in Buddhism, being silent, tolerating, and enduring everything out of fear does not mean the real patience. In Buddhism, the real patience comes with a deeper meaning of life. When someone has a deeper meaning of his life, and when someone has knows the true nature of life, then it's very easy for that person to be patient and to practice the amazing quality of patience. Normally, when we tolerate and when we become silent, the reason why we become silent is because of the fear. Sometimes we have no choice to do anything, right? In that case, we become silent. But the Buddha says that that is not the true patience. Someone can see such kind of a person and say, oh, he is patient. But that's not the true patient, because that person doesn't have the power. That person doesn't have the authority to do something, right? So being patient out of fear is not the true patience. The Buddha says about the real patience like this. In Vepachiti Sutta, it is mentioned, when a person endowed with strength patiently endures a weakling, they call that the supreme patience. The weakling must be patient always. So the real patience comes when you understand that there is the beast inside you. What is that beast? The anger. And if you're afraid of that anger, and if you're afraid of that beast to control your life, and if you can be patient in that situation by controlling your emotions and controlling your thoughts and controlling your anger and deciding to not to harm that person, that is called the true patience and the real patience. To practice such kind of a patience, you have to do a great dedication. Sometimes you have to go through a lot of hardships. You have to endure a lot. But still, why you become patient? Because you believe that being patient is the greatest virtue that you can practice in life. And you believe that you are much more better than them, and you have a better qualities than them. If you believe in that, you can truly be patient. To practice patience, the Buddha offers us a path of thinking in a more deeper level of understanding through our life. So suppose a person comes to you and treat you with rude words, right? Or treat you with their meanness. How can you avoid that situation without even worrying? How to do that? So the Buddha teaches us to look at this situation through the 3 marks of existence. So what are 3 marks of existence? So the Buddha says the 3 marks of existence are anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Impermanence, suffering, and non-self. So anicca. Anicca is the understanding about the impermanence. So the Buddha said that everything in life is subjected to change. If you look at our life, there is nothing that we can hold on to and think and find that is not subjected to change. So once you understanding this intrinsic nature or the inherent nature of impermanence, it's very easy to let go of that anger and to be patient. Because let's say someone blamed you or someone treated you with rude words, okay? Right at the moment that you heard that voice, those words, they became impermanent, right? But here's the problem. Why does we hear the same thing again and again, what they said in our mind, and we keep creating that chain of thought, and we keep creating that anger in our mind? Because the mind has the nature to recreate everything that we heard or what we experienced. Okay, so we think that they abused me, they hurt me, and they treated me with these rude words, so I should not be treated like this. But in reality, those words had been impermanent now. They have been vanished. For an example, the words that you heard from me before, now everything has been vanished. They don't exist. That's the reality of life. But once you're understanding this true and intrinsic nature of impermanence, it's very easy to let go of the anger because you don't find anything to hold on to now. What is the word that we have to hold on to now in this moment to be angry? No, it has gone. So once you understand this true nature of impermanence, it's very easy to practice patience. And the second thing that we have to understand is dukkha. Dukkha often refers to as suffering. So the Buddha said that the pain and suffering is a part of our life. So you cannot remove that. We have to face that situation, okay? Because that is the nature of living. The nature of life is, it is always connected or characterized by the pain or suffering. This is not to worry about the pain or the suffering, but to see it as a part of life and accept it, learn to be with it, learn to deal with it. That is how we can understand the suffering. And the final thing that we have to realize and understanding is the nature of anatta. The nature of anatta is the nature of not self or non-self, right? The Buddha says that there are things in your life that are out of your control. Not every time you're going to have everything according to your wishes. Okay, there are things that are out of our range of control. Once we understand this true nature of anatta or non-self, it is really easy to accept the truth in life. And it is very easy to not to worry about the things that we cannot control. So if you look at the life, if you look at the situations in your life, in these 3 marks of existence, the Buddha said that it is really easy to practice the patience. It is really easy to love people, to give your kindness to people, because we know that we are not going to last forever, and we know that they are not going to last forever. What they did was not going to last forever. What they said was not going to last forever. So we can let go of the anger and we can move on. So these are the few things and few realizations that will help us to practice the patience in your life. So keep this in your mind and be patient. Namo Buddhaya.